Alright guys, this TL is back. This is the one that hit the deer I did last year. Was just involved in a hit and run about a month ago. Got this left front corner. I'm going to be cleaning up the wheel. Doesn't look like it's really damaged. It's more of like rubber transfer. I'm just going to dissolve all that off with some thinner and just polish the wheel up as much as I can. And we'll see if it won't come out. We'll have to address it then. But going to replace the fender and blend the door. Repaired the front bumper here, and there's a little bit of damage on the corner of the headlight, but I think I can just sand this corner down and get this edge smooth again and polish the headlight out. So I'm gonna get it torn down. I'm gonna start by taking the front bumper off, which has to be repaired anyway, and then I'll work on getting the fender off and get it fit to the car. I've got it over here. This is new aftermarket, Kappa certified. Once I get it fit, no, I don't have to modify it at all. I'll spray some epoxy on the inside of it, and I'll probably end up painting the fender off the car just so that it's easier. The bumper will be off anyway, fender will be off, and I'll just have to mask it off for the blend. We'll see. I'll get to that point and decide what I want to do, but I'm going to get the bumper off and then go ahead and get the fender off and get everything to fit. Well, as soon as I pulled the bumper off, all this fell out. This is the bumper bracket that goes around the fender. I already bought that. I knew I needed that most likely, so I went ahead and bought it. But headlight access port or door there fell out. Headlight's cracked all the way through. Back here you can see a crack goes through this little area all the way up through here and over into here. So I'm gonna have to get a headlight. No way around that. But the bracket here for the bumper is still good. I'm gonna reuse that, and I'll probably not. Depends on the headlight I get. I may not get the igniter, so I'm gonna have to save that. Just wait till I get the light and don't throw anything away till I'm done. I'm looking through right now to make sure nothing else is damaged inside here. This fender perch actually comes with the fender. It's spot welded along here, so that's with the new fender. And I don't see any damage to the side rail here at all. I think we're probably good. I'm gonna have to look back behind here and make sure it didn't stretch or break the wheel liner. I think the tire may have rubbed it, but I'll try to save it for him if I can. But for the most part, I think it's just gonna be the headlight I've got to add to the estimate. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of the bolts out of the fender. I took the ones across the top off, so I'm down to just pulling the ones out of the door jamb, and I got to get the mud flap off. Maybe get the rest of it out of there, but I'm going to go ahead and get that off, and then what I'll do after that is pull it out and I'll wash, maybe get the mirror and stuff off. Then I'll wash the door real good once I get the trim off. That way I can have it cleaned. When I get ready to sand it, I can just go ahead and do it. I don't have to wash it later. Okay, I'm down to getting the bottom bolt out of the fender. It's actually down underneath the rocker and over this way recessed, so it's a little hard to get to. I think I can get in there to it. Let me see if I can get you a shot. It's down inside there, right in the center of the screen there. So what I think I can do is, everything else is loose, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through here with a cutoff wheel. I'm just going to cut the fender off right here and take the bulk of it out of the way. Then I can get down in there with a wrench. Trying to not take that rocker panel off. All the clips will probably break. I'm going to have to get one clip for the front. I popped it loose. At least I think I need one. I may have broken it, I can't tell yet. But I can get one for the front instead of having to pop the whole thing off and risk damaging the rocker itself. I'm going to cut that off, get this out of my way. This is free. It's just got one more clip or two in the front holding it. But I need to get that out of the way so I can roll the car back out later. Everything else is done. Just need to get the door detrimmed. Alright, I still got the bolt in there so it wouldn't fall off the car. So I'm going to take that out and the fender will be free. Okay, now I've got full access down in there. I'm going to try to go get my boxed in gear wrench and try to get in there and just turn it loose. I don't think I can get a ratchet in there, or a electric ratchet, just run it out. Probably have to do it by hand, but let's got that done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing out of the way in the front, and then I'll drop the car back down. All right, I've got the bumper washed and I've got the trim off that I'm gonna take off. The plan is to paint this over to this line right here. I'd like to actually stop it down here also, this direction. But I think I'm gonna have to put color all the way up to that transition, so I might as well come all the way down. Since I'm gonna have primer down to about in here, I'm gonna have to put the color down to here, and then my blend is gonna be too close to where I would have it taped off. I'll do a soft edge seam here, but gonna come across here. There's no reason to do it all, especially with him having to pay for this. I'm just gonna go across and may just blend it right in here, so I'm not painting over all this damage, but at least come across here a little ways from this edge underneath where you can't see it. Come across, stop it here, and I might even do the soft edge here also, so that way this would be solid clear all around and just right into here, and I'd just blend it underneath that edge. Could come across here, but I'm just trying to not paint over too much of the damage that's there. I'm gonna go ahead and get this sanded out. We'll start with some 180 and see if I can feather all this back. If not, I'll put some filler where any pits that are left. And the mud flap's gonna have to get some primer on it too. It chipped the paint when it got hit. So once I get this ready, I'll get the primer on this and the mud flap. I ended up with two little spots that wouldn't sand out without going too deep into the plastic. So I'm gonna let that cure up for about 20 minutes. I'll come back and just knock it down. I'm gonna go ahead and get this area out here ready for primer in 400. I'm gonna try not to come up here too far, even though I've got to put color. I don't want to have to put very much. And you can see, maybe you can see on the camera, there's a little bit of an area here that's scratched. There you go, you can see that. I'm gonna try to sand that with 400 and just get the scratches, surface scratches out, and then I can come over that with one coat of primer maybe and just block it out. Feather that out into this. Since I've got to have color here anyway to match the fender, I'm gonna have to put color out into at least this front edge. So that'll be okay, but I don't want to put any 180 grit up there. This will get primer in this area, but I've got to put 400 all the way around the area I'm gonna paint, so the primer has a feather edge area to stick to. Okay, I've got the fender to fit, and I pulled it back off, and I'm going over the inside with this easy coat. This is olive green. I took a paint chip off of this fender and matched the backside color with what I've got. So I have enough to do this. I'm just going to use this instead of having to mix epoxy and wait for the 30-minute induction time. I'll just do this, and that way I can flip it over, scuff the outside, start trimming it out pretty soon here, and then get it back on the car. I'm going to paint it on the car. It's not too difficult to get on the car, but since the rocker panel's in my way there, I'm going to go ahead and just put it on the car. That way I can just do the blend, with the fender and be able to see the match and everything all at one time. All right, bumper's ready to prime. Got this area up here, and there was some right under the bottom edge. I went ahead and did, just because I got to put color down here anyway. Didn't want to paint over that. Just going to prime that one section right there and at the bottom. The rest of it I'm going to end up stopping right here when I paint it. Got the mud flap over here ready to go. These have adhesion promoter on them. They're just drying right now. And I'll get the primer mixed up. I've got to do that trunk lid there, and then once left over from that, I'm going to add flex additive to it and put it on here and the mud flap. All right, new headlight just came in. Got everything test fit. Gonna have to buff it out a little bit. Everything fits nice and tight here and flush. Bumper and the screws in it'll sit right there nice and even. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything pulled back off and sand out the primer and get everything ready to paint. Also got the shield right here that's gonna be painted with it. Everything's looking good. Okay, we're ready to paint now. Got this all feathered out. Just going to be painting over to the center rib there. There's a nice break point. Just going to paint that half of it. Since it only needs color on the side for the repair and to match the fender, I'm just going to bring the color out to right in here. around this curve, and then we'll just clear the rest of it. Got the mud flap ready to go. Get it all covered up. I'm just gonna hold this and spray it. Just set it down here between coats. And I'm gonna be blending this door with the fender. Just got it all masked off a second ago. Went ahead and took the bracket back out that holds the bumper just to keep the paint off of it, and I can run the paint all the way in that way, and it's gonna be easier to get the headlight in past that bracket that comes up a little higher, so that'll give me more access to get the light back in it. Gonna be taping the door off with paper. Shoot a coat of sealer over the fender first, then I'll pull the paper off once I get about 1 to 2 coats of base over the sealer. So I'll get the sealer on very first thing, then I'll immediately go back and start putting color on these other parts so that can be drying while I do that. Then I'll come back and the sealer will have flashed by then. That way I won't have any downtime at all. Let me get you set up for the sealer in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and get the color mixed up. We'll start back here on the mud flap, since I don't have to put any adhesion promoter on that. This needs adhesion promoter when I get this off, and also the bumper, so I'll have to wait on that. Alright, this is the first coat of base. I'm going to see how it looks. If it covers really well, I may go ahead and pull the paper off and then just go ahead and blend it out. If it looks thin, I'll put a second coat on it, but I think it's going to cover pretty well. I've already done the mud flap over there on the trunk. You can't really see it, but covers pretty well. I had some paint left over from when I did the roof, so I went ahead and did that with it while I was waiting on the sealer. We'll see how it goes. It seems to have covered really well. I'll take you over there and see. Take a look at this. I don't think I need to put a second coat before I pull the paper, but I'm going to wait till that dries before I pull it. I don't want to drop the paper in the wet paint. And I'll put one more coat to come back into the door, and then I'll do a drop coat into the door and see how it blends. If I need to thin it, I will. All right, this is the adhesion promoter. Had to clean the gun out from when I did the fender so I could spray this stuff so I didn't get any color back in this area. So the gun's got just the 222S in it. I'm going to coat this and it'll overlap the fender a little bit. And I'll come back here behind the camera here and do the bumper. right, color on the door will be next. All right, that was just the first coat on that area. So since I've got 2 on the fender, I'm gonna have to do 1 more there before I blend it out, make sure I match it to the fender. All right, just got finished with the blends. I didn't thin this at all. It came out pretty nice without thinning it. Just waiting on this for another about 15 minutes so I can clear it. This is just one step with thinned out base coat. So once I got the drop coat on the fender, I brought that onto the door, and then I thinned it, came back and just kind of missed it through the center of the fender and then onto the door a little further. But it only took one final step out with the base. One more coat. All right, I got it put back together now. Still need to do a little denib and polish on it, but it's essentially finished. And then I'll just need to wash it after that. Turned out nice. The finish is almost perfect for how I want to leave it. I wouldn't have to buff it if it wasn't for the little bit of dust that's in it. Color match came out nice. I'm gonna get it de-nibbed tomorrow. I'm gonna let it sit. This is one full day. I'm gonna let it sit 2 full days before I polish on it, since it's so cold outside. Then I'll get it cleaned up. I've already done the inside detail and get the outside done. Just then be ready to go.